Check. Y'all tuned in to another episode of the LABL podcast presented by Lead and Be Legendary. I'm your host, Nametag Alexander. Make sure you check out the website, leadandbelegendary.net, and also visit the website, nametagalexander.com. Be sure to click on that merch tab so you can order your work, win, repeat merchandise. Again, the work, win, repeat merchandise. It is a self-explanatory motto that you can go through with everyday life. This next episode is pretty dope. Had special guest on here, Dean Garcia. He's been on a few of the episodes before, and we got into a few interesting topics here, from music to just, life in general. But make sure you tap into it, check it out, let us know what you think. Leave a rating, leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, or just simply repost, share it with your friends, let them know what you think about the show. We about to get into it.
Let me live out my dream. Let me live out as what I intended to be. If you got me, then I can probably see.
We were just talking about like the transfer of the energy, and I know you said you watched the Nipsey funeral. What you said it was on Tidal?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but I watched up until so like the last part that I watched uninterrupted was his mom speaking.
Okay.
Her talking about how radiant he looked. And honestly, bro, she broke it down for real. I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet.
I didn't get a chance to. But go ahead, kick it.
So, you saw the video that was circulating on social media. Yeah. And so it was basically like, that's her real energy, bro. And she was just talking about how, about her and her mom being tapped in to like the spiritual world for real. And, them just always sensing when death is coming. So like, having to carry that, but she said that that she had been feeling heavy, in the days or the weeks leading up to. But when her mom called her to let her know that something was wrong at the store, she didn't have the same reaction that she normally would. And when the police told her that, that it was her son who had got shot, she didn't react in the way that you would expect the mother to react. And she was saying this is because that she has perfect peace about it, because like the spirit had been preparing her for it, and because they are spiritual people and because they understand that that everybody's time on earth is really mission focused. Then she didn't have to feel a way about it. But the really powerful thing about it was that his death gave her that platform to pass that information.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, since their family was like spiritual like that, do you think that was her kind of saying like, well, he kind of felt it as well?
I think she actually said that too. That she felt like felt like he was sensing. Remember, you and I were talking about that like at the very early on. Yeah.
And I didn't want to. I didn't want to speak too early on it. Like, man, I don't want to be the one to say it, but it's like, yo, like just him being so in tune with himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, usually people like that kind of familiar.
Exactly.
They know.
So she was saying that he had started, coming around more and being in contact more, wasn't not being so busy and like really making it a point to show his mom and his grandmother how much he cared about them and making sure that he was bringing the kids around and stuff like that.
Damn, that's heavy,
and so I think that I'm actually in the middle. I told you I do that Easter thing every year with the United Methodist Church. And they're going to be out in Royal Oak. Shout out to Pastor Jeff Nelson and LaShawn Phoenix Moore. And I think Natasha Miller, who are also going to be, on this ticket with me. But every year we have to do, we have to write a piece according to one of Jesus' last 7 words. And one of the things that's really been on my mind is just how a lot of Black men, or how a lot of prominent figures in the Black community, whether they famous or not, honestly, they end up leading a short life sometime because not because of like any expectation of a short lifespan, but because they really came and were mission focused and did what they came to do, which was like lead people into a new way of thinking. And so
pattern is
Jesus. So it's a messianic figure. So you got Jesus,
or you got Malcolm X.
And just like
Martin Luther King.
Yeah, and so like all of these people didn't necessarily die when they were 33, because you look at Tupac and Biggie and they were like 25.
Yeah,
what I mean?
Exactly.
But I mean, even if you,
but Martin Luther King was what, Well, how old was Mark? I think me and DDT was talking about this. What was he like, 32
Something
or
like that.
something?
Because you remember he was, but that's also somebody who was young and mission focused, right? Who was a college student at
Yeah,
15 at Morehouse. And so
exactly.
when you come here and get down to business, I think one of the things that we lose sight of is that we're not always sure whether we look at death as a reward or a punishment. And usually what dictates that is how a person dies. But when somebody come here and they
Yeah,
do, what they were put here to do, their reward is that they get to move on to the next thing, just like anything else in life.
yeah, and he did so much, and it's like how everybody was saying the whole thing with this album being called Victory Lap. Like
Yeah.
that's heavy alone, and we didn't even think about that then. Knowing, even seeing his interviews prior, like it didn't even click in our mind. Like, why would he call it
Mm-hmm.
Victory Lap? Not saying that he just knew this is when this was gonna happen the year after. Who knows? But like how you said, that spirit, they was real spiritual. So I don't know. Maybe, you know what
Well,
I'm saying?
remember, and so like not to get too far off into like my super mystic bag and shit, right? Because that's not what we here for.
The mist,
But
the super
not the
mystic
super
bag.
mystic bag. That's not what people listen to Lead and Be Legendary for.
Man, you
But like,
never
I mean,
know.
right, and
Shit,
you
you
never
never
know.
know.
So that's why I'm gonna say it, right? Because we all know that like we look at life as one race, and I think that Nipsey was smart enough to look at life as a series of races. And so whether he
Right.
knew that he was gonna die or not, he knew that he had accomplished something that was worth moving on to the next thing for. And so
Exactly.
what happens is, I told you, I think you and I were talking about what's called a liminal period. And so liminality
Hmm.
is the concept of moving from the end to the beginning.
And it's not the same, y'all, as the Illuminati.
This
This
is
is different.
liminal.
But go ahead. Yeah. There's liminal, then Illuminati.
Yeah, so when you're going through a liminal phase, what's usually planted in that community or people in these like these communities that celebrate liminality or use rites of passage to move you from like boyhood to manhood and stuff like that, is that they have what
Yeah.
they call like a sacred clown is the like the general term for it, and you find them across culture, and these are people who are here to like be an authority on whatever culture you're a part of, but also critique it from the inside so that you're receiving, messages of improvement, in love and from a for real place. And so I think
Word.
that, that's how I've been dealing with Nipsey's death. Is just kind of looking at him, moving us from like the end of an era, and like on a lot of levels, right? Because like if you're looking at it from him being, one of the prominent figures who've been, capitalizing on direct to consumer marketing and direct to consumer,
Right.
experiences, in the recording industry, or trying to attach a value to physical product or to an experience that can't be bootlegged is what they was calling it. Like I think that
Yeah. The whole Proud to Pay movement.
exactly. So we're talking about the end of, people really trying to scramble, or people like getting fucked over by labels to, somebody, introducing a model that, that capitalizes on stuff that came before it, but, like not in a
Yeah.
way.
Like, remember in that interview where he says, this ties into what you were saying just about the business model. He was like, we create the business model. Why can't we create the business model? Like, who's with the whole thing of everything going on into streaming, and we'll get into that later. Just about him saying like, who's to tell you that your music is worth $1.99 a track, or your whole project that you put all this blood, sweat, and tears into is only worth $10. You know
Look
what
at
I'm
it like
saying?
this,
So here
right?
come.
Because,
Hmm.
so you remember Dame Dash, he opened up a gallery not too long ago.
Yeah.
And so on
Right.
his Dash TV and stuff, he has people come through, and the girl was talking about, or an artist who wanted to showcase in the gallery, or who showcases in galleries, was talking about how you basically mark up a piece of art 50%, or you say like, I want this is how much I want to make off of the piece, and then the gallery
Okay.
wants to make that much as well, and so that's how you come up with that price, because you're splitting it 50-50. So now imagine,
Yeah.
let's say that you were like in an actual studio, and like not somewhere that's like $25 or $50 an hour. Let's say you're paying like $100 an hour, and it's a
Right.
4 hour minimum for a session, right? Let's
Hmm.
say that's $400 right there if you complete that whole song and this is before anybody mixes it or masters it or whatever, which is probably going to be another anywhere between 200 to 400. Like if you're trying to get industry standard quality, or you're dealing with somebody who got a resume, right? So
Right.
you telling me that one song that I pay $800 to produce, I'm only going to sell it for $1 and hope that 800 people buy it? Like, no, that's
Yeah, see, the consumer not gonna see it that way neither. They just gonna look like it's on this platform and it says this much and that's how much it's worth. They think it's worth as much as whatever the platform tells them is worth, and it's like no, like we thinking on a deeper level of things. Like, did you hear this mix? Did you hear how much time? You don't even know how much time I put into this. You don't know. Like I say, the blood, sweat, and tears. Like when he brought that up, I was thinking like, damn, you're right. Like just the whole. You know, you put all this time into it, all this energy, and all this effort, this money spent, and to sell it for this much. Like, no, the proud to pay movement. Like, I paid $100 for this.
I paid $100 for this project, and it would be, and I think, and maybe this is how recording contracts is supposed to work, right? Where if I invest $800 in a song, I feel like I should be compensated 1,000. Like the money I put into it plus 200 for my immediate gratification, plus a percentage of whatever is gonna. I'll split that dollar with you on the back end if you give me $1,000 up front for the 800 that I just spent.
Cause it really woke me up. Like, remember, I have been talking to y'all like for the longest about this, like saying like, and this gonna tie into the episode later too, where I'm like, yo, like how even the twins, man. Shout out to SJ and AJ, the Connected Experience, like. They've had a couple episodes where they talk about it, and they always bring it up when they say, like, and it start clicking when you hear it more. Like, who are you to tell me that my music is worth this much? Like nowadays, like my music is worth 1/10 of a penny. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because that's the real insult. First of all, is that I'm not even.
You
can't even put it in my hand what it is unless 10 people use it.
That's fucking crazy, dog. Like, and here I ain't gonna give it up just yet, because we're gonna get into it. But just to kind of like just the whole thing with like Nipsey just even presenting that alone, that was inspiration in itself to like myself as well as many other artists. And I think we can be a whole lot more grateful for music artists today that just teach ownership like that. Period. Like not just your Jay-Z, but you know your Nipseys. And even if you go further back, like your Bird, I was listening to the podcast that had Birdman and Juvenile on it, and they were talking about at the time, you know, remember when they signed that deal with Cash Money to Universal, that was like unheard of.
Yeah, because then they had something crazy, like a 90-10 or something like that, pretty much.
I think it was either that or 80-20, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Like, drop something in the comments, like hit me on the platforms, like let me know. But yeah, it was something like that. And he was just saying he said like we met with Russell and them. He was just naming. He was like, ain't no beef with them, but you know when they presented a number to me, I walked out the office like you niggas is out your mind. Like they asked him like what type of deal did you want to do, and it was like 50-50, and they're like no, you're not about to get 50 of nothing that you didn't put in. Like, you didn't put in this work. Like, nah. So it came down to it with them in Universal that they ended up, and they didn't have to do it. Like, even Juvenile was saying, like, you got to think, at this time, we already millionaires. Like, that whole Cash Money Millionaires was real. Like, we already rich. So we ain't got to sign no deal. But obviously, they needed that machine, though, too, is what they were saying. Like, just it came down to just, like, distribution. And they were dropping so much music at one, and think this before streaming, where you could just, at the press of a button, get something uploaded. You know what I'm saying?
And this one niggas was bootlegging for real.
Man, yes. And he's like, he said they distributor was like, man, y'all is at a rapid rate. Y'all got too much music coming out. I can't keep up. So he like basically that fast forward, that's how the distribution deal came about after they shopped around, obviously, but it was like, wow, they basically just ended up signing with Universal because they needed a machine, pretty much.
Yeah, they needed it. They're like, that's why people go on a Shark Tank and stuff like that, is because they need somebody who could manage the production volume at a rate that's not going to put them under. But it's like kind of shifting back to the transfer energy thing, right? It's so crazy because right now we're talking about, how Nipsey is transferring energy, and like it segments into two groups. You got like professionally minded people, and then you got people who live more by their moral conviction. but it's also people who intersect at those parts like Nipsey did. But one of the things that just kind of came into focus for me when you were talking about Birdman is that the energy that was transferred to Nipsey Hussle came from people like Birdman.
Exactly.
And,
he actually, clearly we know, like, he admired these people, like, yo, your Birdman's your man.
I mean,
he
shit,
mentions
your
it in a
Easy
song,
E's,
like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, exactly. Go back for as far as that. Like, he even he mentions Birdman in the song. I forget what he said. He said like Brian Williams or something like that. I forget what song it is. But yeah, like even Master P, E40. You know what I'm saying? We talking about people that was just getting out, and they still popping like to this day, like as hustlers. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, that definitely ties back into it as far as transfer energy. Now that just to kind of transition to the next topic, I was watching and I just referred to the Soul for Real interview that I watched on the Breakfast Club, and man, it had me thinking, like, they were just talking about well, their ages range. They always look older anyway.
That's how
they
black
came
kids
out.
Look
They came out rough. They came out rough. I forget which part of I think they West Indies. They West Indies for sure. Like, they West Indian for sure. But I forget which part. Are they from New York? They got to be from, clearly they had to be from New York, because the whole thing with Uptown, like heavy Mount Vernon, all that shit. But man, hearing their story, and I don't know why I was acting like I was shocked, like, oh man, what happened with them, like it. But just the whole situation, like they was scrambling for food, like just being jerked out of publishing royalties, like the bread and butter, like artist's bread and butter, like period. And it was just basically like, and it kind of hurt to hear it, and it was like it was like Heavy D, man, like he jerked us, like on some, like we was, and it's always the same story, like our lawyer was their lawyer, you know what I'm saying, that same story. We had the same attorney,
super
as them.
Conflict of interest type shit.
Yeah, exactly. And this was how much they basically had all our publishing. So we only got so much off this or whatever. Well, what about shows? Yeah, we did shows. We can still do shows off of our hits or whatever. But I mean, that died down.
That asks a different question too, though, right? Because like we automatically think that, like we don't know the difference between a performer getting robbed and a performer thinking that something is supposed to go to them and it shouldn't, right? So.
Well, this is why I say that, and I'm gonna go. You're gonna say what you're gonna say, but the reason I'm saying is because the main thing they kept saying, like, man, Hev was like a brother to us, and you always hear that. You be like, oh, so and so was like a brother, like this is somebody you trust, and then in the end, you end up getting fucked. You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, but they still be like, oh no, we fuck with them, but it's just like this was just bad business. But what were you gonna say? Because it's gonna tie into like the question.
Well, because like were any of those guys writing or producing? Or like, and so like, where would a master come into them? Like, what did they have to do with the composition aside from them recording for them on the master? I guess.
Well, interesting that you say that, because they did write a lot of the music. They contributed to writing a lot of the songs, not producing per se, but they were explaining, like, they didn't understand the process of writing a hit song. They knew how to write the music. But you fast forward now and you look at a lot of these hit songs by like your Chris Browns, your Beyoncés, and everybody, and there's a lot of songwriters contributed. If you look at a song like Girls Run the World or whatever, it's a gang of songwriters on there. You know what I'm saying? Hell, I looked at Sicko Mode by Travis Scott. Like, if you look at the song credits for that, it's a bunch of songwriters. Like, yo, who the fuck wrote on that? And I'm pretty sure they're contributing, like, maybe if it's a sample in there, where they got the sample from. Who produced, you count that, the composer, whatever, as a songwriter, that counts as well. Everything. And it's like who somebody was in a room, may have thrown, you should say it like this, maybe they adding that person or whatever, if they got ASCAP or being, it's a process to that shit. But they was explaining, like, we understand how it works now. It's all about collaboration. But they were, and you might remember, it's 4 of them. They were like getting jerked. I'm like, dog, like, and then it just was crazy, because they just, they kept mentioning Heavy D, and they didn't really want to speak bad on him, because obviously he's passed. But it just was like, that's what they were saying, like, yo, man, like, we believe, we West Indian, we strongly believe in karma, and some things come back around. They're like, whoa, like, you trying to, man, it was deep, but it just was like, it kept making me think, like, okay, it's always these groups from the 90s. There's always these artists from the 90s, or just even further back, And it's that same story you hear every time. Basically, I got jerked. I don't own my publishing, or I didn't own my publishing. It took me forever to own my publishing or whatever. And it started to make me wonder, and we talked about this, was this just was this either malicious behavior by higher ups in the music industry at these labels, or was this just typically learned behavior, not viewed as wrong, that was passed down from one higher up to the next?
So let me answer this, right? You got, damn, I don't want to be racist. Hold on. So, so this is the thing, black ownership ain't never been a thing that everybody wanted for black people. So even when you get black people who start to own stuff, they start to become a gatekeeper of whatever it is that they own it. And so I think one of it is just it's like passed down, like this is your initiation into the game. Like when you watch all those old Behind the Musics and Unsung and stuff, like your initiation into success was pretty much your first deal being shitty. And for you to have a chance,
which is wild
as fuck, right? But all of that is rooted in white supremacy and wanting to control the talent and hiding education and information from people. And so that's how we end up with this whole thing where you and I were talking about earlier, like before the podcast started, obviously, about how it's not really the artist's job or anybody's job as a creative professional to know how to do everybody's job. It really kills the idea that it's a specialist, but that's wise because people want to control information so that they could do the wrong thing with it.
You gotta be careful with that power that you have.
But they feel like they got to be careful with who else get the power. And on a level, you do, because you don't want to give you don't want anybody to get power who's gonna come in and fuck it up. Whether that's they giving away the secret sauce or they holding on to the purse strings too tight. And so it should be gatekeepers, but it has to be like a code of conduct, which it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Like the morals is just out of there in that frame of business. The music industry just need to be just fucking knocked down and just rebuilt or something. I mean, it's happening in a sense.
It has happened
because we independent structure.
We at the peak of it, I think, is that because what you have is again, and I think we probably trying to get around it is. Can we talk about Spotify for a minute? Right.
Well, before we get into that, because it's a couple more, because it's gonna all tie into it in a sense. I thought one thing I thought about too with the Soul For Real interview was just like when we first was introduced to a lot of these artists from these eras, like you say, the 90s, and for generations prior to us, probably like the 80s, or the artists were already like a package deal. So it's pretty much like you really didn't get this. Even some of the earlier 2000s, we didn't really get to see like the grind of those artists in a sense, or like just that development. We just kind of, this is such and such, and they got a dog ass single. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't really use the term industry plant then, or I ain't never heard of them beforehand. So nah, this guy.
But what do you mean when you say industry?
You know what I'm saying? Okay. You know how it is now, like somebody come out of nowhere and just worldwide, nobody has seen this person's grind or anything, and they just come out of nowhere and they just got a hit, and we wonder like, how did they just catch fire like this so soon out of nowhere?
I don't feel like that happens.
Like you won't look. No. Come on.
No,
man.
I swear. So like the one thing that we've learned in the past almost 20 years is that marketing starts at the grassroots level. So there's no such thing as somebody coming out of the woodwork. For instance, right? So it's two chicks from Detroit, right? Named Bob.
You saying because they just got to market?
They got to market regardless. You have because you like if your audience is one, then your market is one. But you have an audience and a market. So that's like me trying to hate on Queen Naija or Bobby Storm because I hadn't heard of them until last year, even though they both from Detroit.
That reminds me of what I was talking to you about earlier in the week, and this was off air, but about the whole thing. Remember, and we were saying like, in the industry, and it's gonna kind of just void my entire discussion about it, like just not seeing somebody's grind. But I'm gonna still bounce back to it. But the whole thing about artists needing to stop trying to study the industry because it's gonna continue to rapidly change, especially because of technology, and more so just study marketing.
By the time the information get to you, it's not to your benefit. Or it's not to your benefit primarily. Exactly. And so as long as you studying, you basically a consumer.
It's like the Nas line by on American Gangster. By the time you get the car that you wanted, you can't even. It ain't even important no more. By the time it's like, oh, you figured it out. Nah, it's a whole nother way to market the music. So, and I think that ties into, okay, like for example, a lot of people may look at my man's, and you know how I am when it comes to talking about like the most current shit, but my man's with the country joint, the Lil Nas X. A lot of people may say, okay, no, he's an industry plant.
However, sorry, did I interrupt you from explaining what an industry plant is?
No. Well, this is tying right back around to it. It's going back around to it because a lot of people are already saying, like, man, he must be an industry plant. He came out of nowhere. He had the single, and it went on Billboard. However, what I believe, from hearing the story, and I guess I would say this is allegedly, from what I'm hearing, his story goes back to like him using social media with it was like he had a choose your own adventure type thread on Twitter, and like you would get to click through the thread, you would get to select what your adventure was gonna be, and like you might click on it. And I want to say I remember seeing this, and you might click on it, and if you click something wrong or whatever, like it might say something like, yo dumbass, why you click this or whatever, and like you probably laugh, oh, this fucked up or something. And like people enjoyed it. It was a Twitter thread,
right?
And somehow it connected back to him. He started it, I guess. That's what I'm hearing. And somehow, like, I guess, probably just generating a base off of that, probably putting out music, people checking it out. Or I think he was also, because the funny thing is, I don't want to get sidetracked. When I even looked up the song, it tracked back to about like 4 months ago.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying, right? It's like it never comes out of nowhere.
Grassroots marketing. Grassroots. And that's what I said. It's gonna all tie back in together. It's gonna probably like make my point void as fuck. but yeah, it went back to like 4 months or so. Like sometimes you probably just gotta research it. And it's just like I heard a country artist talking about this, which is funny because my man's got a quote unquote trap country song. But there was this woman, she's a country artist, and she was speaking about that, just saying it's too large of an industry now with artists on the independent level and mainstream level for you to even say, hey, I mean, yeah, this person got all these followers, or this person got, and that followers could be another thing because people do buy followers, which is crazy to me. But they have this large following, or you know your song is hot or whatever, but I ain't never heard of you, so you can't be popping too much. Like that way of thinking has to die. That has to die. Like,
I mean, it doesn't even matter though, because you hear every couple of months that so how the old heads like to have the argument of who has it easier back then or right now. And so you have it maybe easier right now as far as monetizing or at least putting your shit out. Yeah. But as far as recognition, they definitely had it easier because the controls limited, how much material made it into the market. But that doesn't mean that you need to have a large presence or that you have to have hundreds of millions of followers and shit like that for you to make $1 million doing music, or for you to have, or you don't, or just because. But then also the inverse of that is just because you have 1 million views don't mean that you got $1 million. And so
exactly. Oh yeah, that definitely don't tie into that. That's some other shit too that goes into before we really get into the last topic. But I was even listening to some shit about that just while I was researching it actually, and just with like Spotify, you may have an artist can have like that playlist. Hey, look, if you're an artist listening, stop trying to push to get on these playlists. Period. That's not the money cash cow. You get this. It's not the cash cow for you to where it's, oh, I'm on a playlist now, I'm popping, it's on, because that could very well inflate streams, but it's temporary, because that playlist you only gonna be on there for a certain amount of time. You get what I'm saying? Like it's only gonna be on there, so you're gonna get those streams, but then what happens once you're off of that playlist?
Well, I feel where you're coming from, but I don't ever think it's a good idea to tell people to stop or to not. I think that you have to tell people to know why they doing
Be smart
stuff,
about
because like
Yeah.
a playlist not gonna make you rich, and it's it's not gonna put no money in your pocket unless
Well,
you know what to
that's
do
why you're
with
here,
it.
Dean.
Like,
Because if I was just saying it, if I was just speaking out loud to the mic, like myself, it's like there's no rebuttal.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
like
then we don't really have an interesting episode. So, but
you got to tell people.
no,
Yeah,
that's right. That
yeah,
makes
like cause
sense.
like there's a whole bunch of ways to get it off of your music, whether it's performing live or figuring out how many different ways you could collect your performance royalties. And I know you know a little bit more about that. So, but
Yeah.
the playlist and stuff like that. And this is what I've been telling people is, I'm really like over social media.
Wait. Time out. Because we're talking about this, I know my feed on social media and Google. Oh my God, it's about to get flooded with a bunch of promote your music on this such and such playlist, how to get on this Spotify playlist, or how to get on this SoundCloud. It's about to be a wrap. I'm about to see it for the next few days.
Yeah, you
I
just
know
made me
it.
forget my point. Damn.
Well, you was basically just saying how you was off of social media. No, I had it. It's stored. It's in my brain. I got it. But you was saying like how you just off of like social media for the most part,
But
and just
so I'm off social media, for like my personal choices. But as far as using it as a marketing and an advertising tool, I feel like that's really all it is. And so the days of trying to like curate this brand that has like this perfect look is kind of over, because people just want to know what you're selling right now. At the end of the day, they don't really care if you cool or not, because they'll find that out based on the product and how you present it.
well, I don't know. Here's my rebuttal to that, because that shit was pretty wild that Boosie has this large following. And we seen that shit like with the whole. We know Boosie is a popular artist because you said they only care about what you're selling, and at the end of the day, Boosie, a music artist, he's out to sell his music.
No,
right?
but that's the thing, because I'm talking about the product and like the packaging. So like a name brand box of cereal is different than an off brand box of cereal, right? But they clearly marked. What we living in a time was like it's like a grab bag. You could be selling anything, but it has to look good. So if Boosie is trying, if you call it self-selling music, but our main point of connection to him is being entertained by his shenanigans, or just like clowning and shit on Facebook Live, then that might be different. And for one, do people who buy music spend more time on Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat, or Twitter? You know what I mean? And so like you got your niche, but it still has to be based on where people are gonna make that transaction.
So do you think maybe more so? I mean, Boosie got a following. Let's not we're not gonna play ourselves like, man, you don't got a following, you don't got it like you usually. Clearly, I'm pretty sure Boosie gonna sell out.
Yeah, he'll always
crowd,
sell out a
right?
show, but like people don't buy music, and so like.
But social media just different now. Like just the internet just different now. Like when I seen him, like I felt him, because it was like, damn, he like 300 albums, like he like 300 copies of my albums. So, and I'm like, now I'm trying to factor in everything. Like, so I'm really getting technical about like, well, when they say 300, was it literally only 300 physical copies sold? Was it only 300?
Like it only 300?
I think that's what he's going based off of. I think that's what it was, because he kept saying if you went out and got it, people was like, oh, I got it. And I'm like, well, was it 300 downloads, like literally 300 people that bought it online as far as the digital downloads? Because are we factoring in streams? I seriously doubt that only 300 people streamed.
No, I think
he's
talking about physical product. And so that even begs that like kind of be like, damn, is Boosie like savvy?
I thought that.
Like everybody
he gotta be. Man, he gotta be. Cause I'm like, I know mad people streaming this Boosie shit, man. I'm pretty sure if you go on Boosie's his Spotify or any platform, one of the major platforms, he got a bunch of followers on there.
I didn't even know Boosie was coming out with an album. I didn't know until after the album was out.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know until I saw the live. I was like, well, damn.
I didn't know until I saw the live.
But still, you got a fan base, and I'm like, well, maybe just 300 people bought physical copies that day. You know what I'm saying? This is the era where it's like, you know, I'm a fan. I fuck with it, but I ain't buying it today. I'm gonna buy it another day. But it's on Spotify. I'm about to go stream it. Streaming has made it so convenient for the consumer, like for the average fan, that just is like, yo, I'm just about to go
So
here and
that's why
listen to it.
people. I'm
So
sorry.
I don't.
Because
No, go ahead, go ahead. I was just gonna say basically like I think he was probably just gauging it off of the physical
that's why
copies.
people create experiences in capsules, because they selling you merch and it come with a free download basically. But what you're really paying for is the value of the music, which is articulated or stated by the other shit that it come with, like a concert ticket and a T-shirt,
thought
and
about
you know,
something.
digital LP.
I just thought about something, but I'll run that to
Oh,
you
shit.
off air. But yeah, I thought about some ill shit that I could have been did.
But yeah, man. So I mean, that's my take on Boosie though, and just like you know, everybody who show up to work ain't the best prepared for their job all the time, especially if they've been there for a while. Sometimes you just be collecting the check.
Yeah.
You know, you're not in touch with what's going on in your workplace culture. So it's the same as
He's
any
like,
job.
I'll get to it when I get to it. I know it.
You know what I
get
mean?
adjusted.
It's like, you know, I've already secured my spot, is what a lot of people feel like. And so that's what separates Jay-Z from a lot of people. Like, he secured his spot, but, you know, he still innovates.
Yeah, exactly. And probably always will. What do you think? I seen you ask me something about the you tagged me in some shit, and I saw it was Facebook. I said, about to land into this debate. But the pay-to-play performances, basically, like, you see it as a benefit.
I don't see it as a benefit. I'm the type of nigga who always gonna figure out how to make something work for me if it come down to it, just in case I ever have to approach an option. And so, in my professional opinion, I don't think that most artists even know how to benefit from a pay-to-pay slot, which is why I wouldn't advise them doing it. But my whole point, so I got in my bag or whatever on the comments, and actually shout out to Black Sheep Collective, because she was and to Kayla Patterson, because she was the one who started the topic. And it's like, it's a bad idea, overall, just because I don't like attending them.
Cause your debates on social media be intricate. I'll be like, my brain ain't ready for it yet.
They not bad if you know what to do with them. Just like I was saying with the playlist, is that people will go and pay to get to South by Southwest to perform in a slot that they paid for, and maybe they have a strategy behind it, or maybe they don't. But 9 times, and a lot of niggas don't. But it's the same. It's basically the same model as a pay to perform showcase. This is a trade show. You're not there to gain fans. You're there to gain the opportunity. And so that's why back in the day there was an A&R, somebody repping a label, or other DJs and shit like that. Otherwise, you had a networking event. But
and to speak to that, like, just with South, because that used to be a thing. Like, I used to see that then. Like, when niggas just hit me up, I'm like, nigga, I'm not about to come up out of pocket for South by Southwest and go there and then not really be able to, you know what I'm saying, like, do what I plan to come here to do. Because now I'm down here and I'm broke.
Like, I mean, I backpacked through South by Southwest pretty much and was spending the night in vans and shit. So, but I also made some money while I was there. Yeah, so
you did. But see, that was the only time you went, and when you went, you knew you was going down there. It was a game plan. But I just seen so many artists go down there and not have a game plan. And then South by Southwest, from what I understand, the artists I've talked to, it's changed a lot. So, like, at the time where they were going, it was a little bit more it had a more grassroots feeling to where it was for the artists, and now it's kind of more like, obviously we see there, it's way more like you got the more mainstream tap into it.
But that's the best part, though, bro. I mean, like, I never experienced organic or grassroots South by Southwest, but the trend in the industry is to get patrons like these big corporations who can afford your swag pretty much to finance your career. Because
and we should have seen that coming with a space. Are you saying as far as like South by Southwest?
South by Southwest. I mean, so the mainstream is obsessed with indie culture, and it has been for like 10 years, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's the whole reason that you can have opportunities to, have your music synced into get your music, placements and TV and stuff like that. And so, obviously the benefit for them is that you may not cost as much as somebody with a deal who has to pay 3 other people for them to even get the song onto the show. but also is that you just bring
Exactly.
something to the table. You new and you exciting, and you something that people haven't really been exposed to, and so people like feeling like they getting put on to something new. It's an endorphin release, and so that's something that they can afford, at a higher volume if they paying people who don't cost as much. But that's why indie artists
Exactly.
show up, so that they can go and network with the corporations and with the people who are sponsoring these experiential activations for like YouTube and Amazon and all of this shit, right?
Yeah.
And so
It ties back into what we were saying as far as like pay to play. I still like me now. I'm smarter, obviously, because I like my career. Like I've probably early on probably done like maybe literally only 2 pay to play events
and
because I felt as though like, oh, this is about to be, that opportunity gonna make sense. But that second time it was like never
no,
again. No, I'm
I
cool.
wouldn't
I'm
recommend an
straight.
artist do a pay to play unless they got money to pay, or some homies who gonna be there and street team for them for real. And somebody who's gonna,
Yeah.
be their videographer for the night, whether that's on the love or for a
And
payment.
even when I
But
did, I had CDs, you know what I'm saying, at that time where CDs were a thing, or I had like stickers or something to leave a lasting mark, you know what I'm saying, or you gonna make some type of connection. It wasn't but still, just at the end of the day, you still leave side like,
yeah,
damn, I paid him, man. I ain't even like,
that
fuck,
should
man.
that
Like, you know what I'm
shouldn't
saying?
be
That was in
that
the
shouldn't
city.
be half or more of your performance opportunities. Like anybody who's
Yeah.
only paying to perform and not booking shows any other way, then that's probably a person who needs to hang it
Oh,
up.
that's just, that's terrible. Yeah, let it go. That's just kind of terrible. You got a lot of shit to figure out. Let it go. Figure. There's other. Trust me. It's you don't have to just be
Mhm.
behind the mic in music. If you just out here, like, you got some other shit that you could be doing. But man, I told you about this email that I got, and we know this streaming war shit. It's serious. I'm about to find this email while we're here, because one of the companies that I previously had my music distributed through reached out. Like, basically, long story short, well, no, a long story. like, there's this YouTube video I watched that, in fact, shout out to DDT because he sent it to me, and I almost didn't watch it. The YouTube link was like from 2014, and the guy was the former CEO of TuneCore. He runs a company called Audium now, AUDIAM.com. And basically, Audium is a collection agency or whatever, performance royalties collection agency or whatever. They collect your mechanical, your performance royalties for you as a songwriter, because obviously we know now with these streaming services, a lot of them are not paying out the proper due to songwriters, especially independent ones, right? Um, Come to find out, and like I say, this was 2014. If you have your music on Spotify, they're supposed to send you out a notice. What is it, like, a NOI? A notice of intent, basically, as far as like using your music. And if they don't send that and they still have your music streaming on their platform, it's copyright infringement.
Right.
So, and then on top of the fact that they're supposed to be paying you out more than that tenth of a penny bullshit or whatever, right? So anyway, I end up partnering up with the company because I'm like, I feel as though my music is on these platforms. I should be getting do more than what I've been seeing on a quarterly basis, and they're really supposed to pay your ass monthly. Like, those streaming services are supposed to cut a check to songwriters monthly. Now, no quarterly bullshit or whatever. In some cases, with a lot of them, because there are some distribution services that do pay out on a monthly basis, depending on who you work with. Anyway, I got a notice. It was basically saying, and this is from the company I distributed through, and they looking confused. It said there has been a claim against the your music on Spotify and a release, and this is from an old project that has been removed from Spotify for the moment and possibly permanently. Someone is taking exception to the song. We don't say the song featuring said artist. They're assuming, rightfully or not, that this means it's featuring the supergroup by the same name. So basically, I had an artist on the song who happens to have the same name as the supergroup, who's also on these platforms. And they said, I'm guessing that it's possible that the artist that you referenced to might be an artist friend who goes by the same name also. And he said they should really consider changing it if they continue in the music biz. Said either way, the rules and regulations regarding presentation is tightening up. And in this case, they believe you've misrepresented their trademark rights, even if that was not at all the intent. Then they basically said they'll update me on a release of the removal or whatever, and just recommended that I reach out to one of the reps at Spotify, just letting them know it wasn't intentional, whoop-de-whoop, or whatever. However, we know why this is going on. Because Spotify is being pressed. But they've been getting pressed since forever. And the crazy thing is Spotify is like, they're the music people. Apple ain't the music people. Apple is like, nigga, they Apple. But Spotify been getting pressed. So what they doing now is they cracking the whip back at niggas like, well, what about this? What about this song? You got an artist on here who got the same name as another artist. And that's technically against copyright laws. Like, nigga, get the fuck out of here. Like, so yeah, that's basically what it is. So now that leads to this article. It gets deep. This is from Variety.com, written by, I forget, whatever. Anyway, I'll post a link in the description. Power of podcasting, right? Says streaming giant Spotify, after years of attempting to woo the songwriting community, is now at the front of an effort to pay it less. It's a move that has been seen by the company, the market leader with 87 million worldwide subscribers, hands second place Apple with an estimated 43.5 million subs, an opportunity to make up ground. Basically, they got an opportunity to lap Spotify now with all this bullshit going on. At issue is the Copyright Royalty Board's 2018 decision to raise the rate paid to songwriters by 44%. I mean, compared to what you get paid out as a songwriter from these mechanical royalties off streaming.
So that's still like 4 cents.
44 ain't. Yeah,
that's
like,
a whole 4 cent
look.
now.
Ooh, look, I got
nickel,
4 pennies now.
Maybe
over almost a nickel, almost over the next 5 years, right? So that's what they talking about doing. Spotify, along with 3 other streaming services, and this is after this shit has been approved in the courts. Spotify, along with 3 other streaming services, Amazon, Google, SiriusXM, Pandora, is appealing that decision to the board, a move that has no direct precedent. The 4 companies have been shellacked with criticism by artists. Am I saying that right? Shellacked, S-H-E. It's a real nigga moment right here. S-H-E-L-L-A-C-K-E-D. Now, I got a woman, and I've worked around women, and it ain't shellacked like some shit where, like some nail shit or whatever.
It's
ladies, if y'all listen.
You so fucking irritating, bro.
Ladies, listen. Now the first time I read this shit, I said, oh, shellac. I just kind of read it over. Reading it again, I'm like, shellac? That's some nail shit. I ain't dumb. I got a woman. Like,
it's not just used for nails, dumb.
Well, it should be. I don't like that word in this article that I'm reading. Shellac with criticism by artists for their action, basically. And like I said, Spotify pressed him back and gave the story about the whole audience shit, and that was from like 5 years ago. That shit is crazy, dog. These niggas is basically like, nigga, we do not want to pay y'all. It's almost like the songwriters is like the fast food employees.
Just to recap, what you saying is that a video that you saw on YouTube about a guy who runs, a company that collects, royalties from streaming services on behalf of artists, right? That's what Atrium is.
Yep.
You're watching the video.
Yep. Audio. Yep.
And so, like, this dude was like, hey, man, you need to see if the streaming platforms got some paper for you, because they probably do.
Yep.
And he was like, all right, yeah. So you reached out to his company, actually, right? Okay, and so y'all first correspondence from Spotify is that you need to take your shit down, or they had to take it down because you might be infringing on somebody's copyright because, somebody featured on your song got a similar name.
Yep, they took down one song.
So I thought they took down the whole project.
No, the whole project. Initially, it was one song. They just like, fuck it, pull the whole thing. That one particular project.
So I already saw that coming. So like anybody who got money, they want to keep it. They don't be like, all right, I got enough. I guess I could, do what's fair, because that's not how wealth works. And so they definitely about to be trying to scare a whole bunch of people out of, out of getting what's theirs. So I mean, that's what I think about it. I'm not surprised by it at all. Like,
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. The way you broke that shit down, I'm thinking like, damn, well, I couldn't like break it down.
That's what I was saying.
And you the intricate
That's
one.
all
What
I
the
was
fuck?
saying.
Like, nigga, you the one who deeply go in this shit and reading it down, breaking it down. Got the long paragraphs and stuff. You got me doing this shit, and you're like, well, basically, what you mean is, just opposite this shit on me. Like, what the hell? Got me reading words like
Nigga,
shellacked.
that was really the part that took me out.
Like, oh yeah, they gonna shellac
They stuck it to
shit.
it. That's how they applied it, real fast and easy. Like,
But yeah, that's basically what it is, man. They like, nigga, don't press us. We about to, nigga, we got something for y'all. That's fucked
it
up
is
though.
fucked up.
That's
And
like
what makes it so fucked up is that Spotify was, come to find out, the platform that was, connecting to songwriters and trying to build better relationships with them, but it was to take advantage of them.
Yes.
And so Spotify House or Artist House is one of the most popular artist activations or performance activations at South by Southwest, because that's usually where the people who are booked for the official stages and some of the unofficial stages, they get to go to Artist House, sponsored by Spotify, to mingle and meet the people, the decision makers for Spotify, and see what kind of opportunities they can get from that.
Is bogus, man.
It's bogus, but like also at the same time, would you pass up the opportunity?
It's more exposure, but man, you know what I say now, man. Just like,
well, it's like
you just, and I don't want to say it because it's like nobody's really gonna do that, but it's okay. I would say keep your shit on the platforms, right?
Mm-hmm.
If able. However, push the platforms where your shit is at to where, as it goes back to what we were saying earlier, to where you're pushing your business model, period. And if you really got like fans that fuck with you, and they gon' go that way. And then the people, you might even have your fans that go to the way where your business model is and still be like, all right, I'm gonna stream it too. Because I know you're getting that or whatever, if you obviously if you own your music or whatever. And then the other casual listeners, then let them still stream your shit on Spotify or whatever title, however they want to do it. They say Apple is the one that's like not appealing. Apple is more supportive toward the artist, which is crazy because Apple ain't even the music people.
Well, Apple
really
is the whole reason that digital music exists in the way that it does, because it started with iTunes.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
Yep,
and so
that is true.
For the last 12 years, these niggas been running this shit.
They just like Spotify, just as far as the streaming, has had the upper hand longer, and that's why they saying like the 83 million subscribers or whatever, versus Apple right now at the 40 something, which is probably gonna go up because they are seeing a lot of songwriters are like canceling their Spotify. So I was like, y'all niggas subscribe to these niggas? Like y'all niggas really paying?
Well, see, now you sound like a hater. Like, and so that remind me of me being the only one who bought CDs in high school, like the real one.
Y'all niggas. Oh, y'all niggas be buying the bootlegs from my man? It's like, yes, nigga. Like, what you mean?
I was in class reading the CD jacket and shit, trying to.
Everybody looking like, what is he looking at?
That was gonna be my point earlier, right? When you was talking about how many writers be on the song, just like, or how many people be in the credits. Yeah. Like, as a nigga who been reading like the liner notes since the 90s, that shit always been stacked. That ain't never just one or two people, and it's because you got live instruments or you got a sample part that that goes to the person who played the instrument, but also the person who owns the master, right?
And you gotta have all that.
And you gotta have everybody got to get their credit, just in case that paper don't line up.
Yep. And it don't even about, even if the paper is gonna matter, but even if still give the credit.
I mean, that's because that's the respectful thing to do with somebody's creativity.
Yeah. Like, don't send me no beat that you done sample and you don't know where the sample came from. Like, I just thought it was fire, and where did you sample? Where did this come from? Well, we can't use it. I'm sorry. Replay it.
Funny thing though is that it used to be. I don't know if it still exists, but it used to be this thing that was basically like a public library of recordings, to where if something was older than like 100 years old, you could sample it like free of charge.
Y'all niggas better start sampling shit that was old.
I'm just saying, like, what kind of recorded music was there in 1919, 1918? And because that could be a whole new sample bag, right?
Hey, producers, y'all better pay attention.
So I don't know. It might work different now, though. But yeah, man, Spotify be on some bullshit. But I'm a Tidal subscriber anyway. but also at the same time, right? Because we could sit here and take Tidal or like take Spotify to task for how they treat songwriters, but at the end of the day, we're a podcast that's distributed on the platform as well, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say, and that's why I want to more so understand it. But I think they're Spotify cornering the podcast market. To be honest, I think they give a fuck about the music shit because that's obviously where a lot of their base is. The millions of people subscribe, but like right now, you see what's going on. They're buying up all this podcast shit. So
not just them, because they just iHeart just after announcing a bankruptcy, they're announcing their initial public offering, which is they first day on the stock exchange, and so they're basing the valuation or how much their company is worth or how much these shares will be worth based on the fact that they have a certain segment of or X amount of people who are listening to podcasts via iHeart platforms, right? And so.
And I want to say I told you about, not to cut you, I want to say I told you about that with the Spotify thing, though. And I was like, I think we both said it like, well, they focusing a lot on this podcast and shit anyway. So the music shit mattered to them, but they're like, nigga, ain't about to hurt us.
Well, I
don't give a fuck.
Well, this is the thing, right? Because just like you can't really tell the difference between indie and mainstream, in a second, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a podcast and a radio show. And that's what happens when a big business buys a little business. They integrate. They take the values of the smaller company and they integrate them into the brand of the bigger company. And so that's why
you just said a bar. That was a bar. Because we gonna if that shit happens, I'm revisiting this, dog. Like,
listen, right? So one of the reasons that you can tell, one of the things that come to mind, I should say, when you talk about Spotify and Google being on the opposing side of paying songwriters more, is that Google or that Spotify got some of its series funding, or like with the funding that you try to generate from venture capitalists when you headed towards being publicly traded. That came from a lot of that money came from Alphabet, and Alphabet is the venture capital firm that is owned by Google, and so Alphabet exist entirely to invest Google revenue or Google profits into new technologies.
Man, you just said some shit I knew nothing about, but I just learned it. And I'm grateful that
That's crazy though, right? So so Google and Spotify are trying to protect their investment in each other.
So that's why you see it. Well, what about because they had Sirius on there too.
Sirius and Pandora. So like Sirius is satellite, right? And so this is something that people still pay money for, and I don't think you're really paying more than like $5 a month for it if you got it in your car or some shit like that. Maybe $20 a month, depending on what you got. But it's not something that people are as fast to sign up for it because entertainment is being integrated into everything you do. And it's any type of mobile communication. It's your mobile phone or it's your actual automobile.
Yeah, because they keep sending me shit like, last time free trial. If you want to take advantage, like, y'all just send me like 3 of these. No, I'm straight.
Now imagine what's gonna happen.
I don't even be in my car that long.
Oh shit! So this is why platforms is mad. The ones that are mad. This is why they mad, right? Because they're gonna lose money over the next 5 years, even if it's just a penny at a time, right? They're gonna lose money over the next 5 years based on the fact that people listen to music on their phone, on their smart home systems, in their smart cars, and so they're missing out on triple the revenue or triple the amount of whatever they would be paying out.
Man, dog, that shit.
They're gonna have to pay 15 cents or let's say 12 cents for something that they used to only have to pay a tenth of a cent for.
Exactly, but it all goes back to why I said earlier and what we said. Like, hey, look, y'all, stop studying the industry.
I mean, study that part of the industry a little bit, but like,
but that's what I was about to say. Like, because that kind of like still ties.
But don't
in a
make
way,
it your
job.
Like,
can
that's
fall
not
under.
Your job. But...
Yeah, I was about to like know it, but don't spend. Like, I had to learn that shit. Don't keep spending. Just create.
Know the right
like,
questions.
Still know it. Like, have it in the back of your mind. No, yeah, exactly. Like, research that shit because it's important to know. But just put it in the back of your mind and focus on marketing, period. That's like smart marketing, though. Like, not just, we're going for a Spotify ad and you ain't targeting to the right people and all that shit. Like, no.
But that's why y'all supposed to call people
study
like
marketing
me so that I could, help you figure out who you're trying to reach.
Well, this is why we got this. Why we supposed to have you on the podcast more. Period. True. Cause this about to have you. Yeah, trust me. Yeah, we gonna get you on more episodes. We gonna get you on other people's shows more so. Cause I seen a couple shows. I'm like, yeah, he need to be on there. Like, yep. Yeah, man. We've said enough, man.
I think so, man.
You gave him a couple bars. But tell them where you at, man. Drop your well, you said you don't be on social media like that. So, you're lying because you be on Facebook
so I don't
a
use,
lot.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't use it for I don't use it for business personally because I'm not an artist, and so it doesn't help me in that way at this point in time to like really be dedicated to branding myself, as a social media expert or a social media personality. But I go and talk shit on Facebook like everybody else. But I want you to follow me on Instagram. So that's Art.Dealer.Dean. And that's where I be at. But my bio says I don't really be on here like that. And then it say text me. And so, I'm down for shit like that. Y'all niggas listening. You need something, you need a bio, you need a press release, you need a consultation on your release strategy. Follow me on Instagram first, but then hit the text button at the top of the profile.
And they should want to pay based off all the shit you were just saying within the episodes. Like, oh, niggas sound like
I do. And I don't charge you like a whole bunch. I just charge you, what's fair, because I'm a fair guy.
You got a fair business model. Yeah, And then on my end, just search. Hey, look, just the platforms that we just was discussing. Follow me on them. Follow me on Spotify, Nametag Alexander. Follow me on Apple Music, same as title. Bandcamp, purchase the music. NametagAlexander.com. The website for Leading Be Legendary with a label podcast. It's on all the major outlets. Just be sure to stream, download, leave a review, leave a rating, because that's what helps. You could support this podcast if you want to contribute, monetary, whatever. You can definitely do that. Also, like I said, the main website, leadingbelegendary.net. And the work, repeat merch is available. NametagAlexander.com. Make sure you click on that merch tab.
We out.
We out.